This is the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast, episode 58.
Welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast with Ken Countess. Ken is an internationally recognized marketing expert. This podcast will give you tips on how to market your business more effectively than ever before to help you make more money, whether you're just starting out or have been in business for years. And now, here's Ken Countess.
Hey, welcome to this week's episode of the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. I'm Ken Countess. And this episode, I'm delighted that we have Jan Roos with me. Yann is an AdWords expert, and Yann tailors a lot of his business toward the legal industry. So if you're a lawyer, pay special attention. If you're not a lawyer, pay special attention. We've got something for you no matter what your game. So Yann, welcome to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast.
Thanks, Ken. Happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here. And for those of you watching on YouTube, listen up, tune up. And for those of you listening while you're on the road or wherever you are, we've got so much great stuff for you coming up that I know you'll want to pay special attention to it. So Jan, I gave the audience a quick view of who you are and what you do, but why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
All right. So yeah, it's been kind of an interesting journey to how I got here, but I would say today primarily my focus is on, I run a company that does lead generation for law firms. So the focus on AdWords has been rooted in the fact that it's one of the most effective channels for attorneys. But I mean, and obviously everyone not listening to this isn't going to be an attorney, but basically there's a huge swath of businesses that work online that work really, really well for this kind of marketing. So, and kind of get a little bit more specific in what we do with AdWords. Basically, the way I like to tell with clients is that we do everything that's needed to make the phone ring, which when we're talking about AdWords is often a lot more than opening up an ads account or even, opening up an ads account and running the ads very well. There's a lot that needs to happen to go into that. And basically, we handle that all for the attorneys.
Good. I know from looking at your website, and I should mention that Yann has a best-selling book called The Legal Marketing Fastlane, Your Roadmap to Generating Real Leads in 72 Hours or Less, even if you're small. So I want to be sure we touch on that. There are so many clients that I have worked with in the past who have come to me with an exact kind of problem of, I tried this AdWord things and it was like pouring money down the toilet. And it sounds like, Jan, you've got that special sauce to help them rather than throw money away, rather generate leads. But before we get to that, tell me before doing what you're doing today, what was your last gig and why did you leave that?
Okay, great. So yeah, I mean, basically prior to getting into the agency world, I was actually running a Bootstrap Startup. So basically, this is actually my first thing after I graduated college. We actually ended up winning a business plan competition at McGill University, which gave us some of the seed capital. So yeah, to start a business, which was really cool. So, it was sort of one of those businesses that you kind of think of when you're becoming an entrepreneur. It was very Shark Tank-esque. We had a product that was a nutritional supplement. Our kind of secret sauce as far as that went was we had really, really good sourcing. So we were selling into the CrossFit market. We also had an interesting niche business in the survival market as well. But what was really cool about this whole experience that we had these two completely separate markets. I was basically, my partner was on the operations and financing side. So he got the product into the warehouse and I was responsible for getting it out of the warehouse and, hopefully making some money along the way. So basically, we started out trying everything under the sun, which I'm sure is a pretty common scenario for a lot of people that are starting their business, and
Jack of all trades and master of none.
Oh yeah. And it's really tough to sort through this. And this is something, I can empathize with a lot of, the people that I speak to, the potential business owners, it's that, you're kind of in this space where, you see all this opportunity on some lines. There's a lot of, and the thing is that, you're getting a lot of this content is coming from marketers. And guess what? Marketers are pretty good at marketing. So to kind of like test out a lot of these different channels was, no easy feat. I'm not a motivational guy or anything like that, but it definitely takes a lot of, gumption to, sometimes fail 3-4 times in a row and keep kicking. But basically, kind of the thing that I really took from that experience, and this is something that I can definitely recommend for any business owner, is that a lot of the failure that happens when people go into a marketing channel and it fails, AdWords or anything else, is when you're getting into a channel that your market is not ready for. So basically, I call this kind of the channel market fit. People talk about product market fit, that kind of stuff. But basically, and this was really exemplified in the business that I was running at the time, and that we were using oftentimes the exact same playbook. When we were in the CrossFit market, it went off like gangbusters. When we were in the survival market, it went nowhere, and vice versa. And basically, after doing a lot of research into this, I came upon, this is, you've definitely, this is going to ring a bell for you, Ken, but this book, Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. And it was this concept of market awareness that really kind of, gave the context to this to figure out where that was happening. So a lot of the times, for the survival market, for example, we had something that was a truly new product, something that had never been developed before. So the challenge with that market was really educating people. And that was never something that we were going to be able to do through a channel like AdWords. The stuff that tended to work really well for that was longer funnel stuff. We did a little bit of email marketing, getting the message in front of people through social media. It responded really well to PR because it was something that people hadn't heard before. Right. But at the same time, we couldn't really do that in the nutritional supplement business because, there's a billion companies like that. Even if we were the best thing since sliced bread, which I like to think we were, everyone had been already saying that before. So you're not going to get anyone to take your pitch, whether it's a PR thing. And, it's not really going to get people interested in that other stuff. So basically, different strokes for different folks. And this is kind of something that I've brought into the practice that we have right now. And the thing is that it's not necessarily that we do AdWords because it's a good channel for lawyers, but we kind of chose lawyers because it's a good channel for AdWords, if that makes any sense. And to kind of loop back into what really makes a lot of this stuff work. And if anyone's going to be considering AdWords, a lot of it has to do with that market that's really, really educated. They know what they're looking for. And also really importantly, like they have a need to close right then and there. So, if people are driving AdWords to an opt-in magnet with the hope to, educate them through email, yeah, you can do that, but it's going to be prohibitively expensive. And, when we're talking about paying 5, 10, 15, I mean, we have clients that pay literally $50 a click for some keywords. It's a very expensive way to get somebody early in the funnel. But on the flip side, if you have somebody who needs to get a service right now, and, this doesn't just have to be certain kinds of lawyers, but you talk about stuff like, water damage repair, different types of medicine, emergency dentistry, these kind of things. When you have somebody that has a need, then yeah, absolutely. If you have a proven system, you get that in front of somebody, you can absolutely get the phone to be ringing in 72 hours.
The service and the right ad in the right place for the right service at the right time. I need something now, click.
Yeah. Now the thing is that, if somebody sees that headline and says, hey, look, I'm a financial advisor and it takes you, 2 years sometimes to get somebody to end up working with you. Well, look, I hate to break it to you, but that's not going to change just because you picked the right channel. And that's kind of the most important thing because, if you get the people that have those education-based businesses, those relationship-based businesses, like that's going to be really, really hard to top. And then ultimately, it's not that the platform doesn't really work. It's just not the right tool for the job. If you wanted to get a nail into a wall with the back of a screwdriver, you could probably do it. It just takes a lot of effort,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So let's talk a little bit about this whole notion of PPC, pay-per-click lead gen. Tell me how you go about doing that.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, PPC has been, basically one of the most important innovations in advertising in the last 20 years. Prior to this, we basically had, banner ads. I mean, it's Google's been around. The AdWords platform has been around since the early 2000s. But prior to this, we were basically just stuck with banner advertising, which functioned similar to, if you paid money to put a classified ad up in a newspaper or magazine, or you rent the billboard. So you had a lot of stuff coming your way and really kind of no guarantee that stuff was actually going to come for it. So when the platform came up and they kind of invented this model of pay-per-click, it was a win-win for everybody, because you knew that you were going to get people to come to your site. You weren't going to throw this ad out there and not have anything come from it, which, because the internet made this thing measurable, there's still almost nothing to, that kind of effect in the brick and mortar world. But basically, it's been a really great model. But the thing is that, when we're talking about things 20 years later, we're not the first people to show up to this party. So the thing is that since it's proven, since it's been effective for so many businesses, we're now in an extremely late stage of PPC and search marketing. And because of that, the competition has made it very, very difficult to get anything cheaply. A lot of the stuff, if you look at the material that was coming out, 5-10 years ago, people would talk about finding these, very niche keywords, going the long tail. And in those days, that was something that was possible. But, when we're talking about AdWords in 2018, you more or less have to kind of assume that no stone has been left unturned. Now, to kind of go back into this, and this is kind of why I wanted to, go into the definition of pay-per-click, was that essentially to succeed in pay-per-click today, it's not hard to get the clicks. And then you're going to assume these clicks are expensive. So what really makes this work at the end of the day is making sure as many clicks as you have are turned into some sort of a positive event for you. In the case of attorneys, this is typically leads for a consultation request. Phone calls or emails are typically what we want. Both of those work very well. I'd almost say the phone calls are even better for the AdWords stuff, because it allows you to connect with somebody right away that has a problem and get them into your world. But basically, how do we get from getting these clicks to getting somebody that's picking up the phone and calling you? And the kind of the important step, and this is something that you're not going to see in a lot of the literature that Google puts out, because basically, this is it's beyond what they can do. It's complicated enough to provide materials to show people how to use their ad platform. But what that happens when somebody puts that click is that they go to the website. So they're not going to start designing websites for everyone in the world. They don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the expertise for doing that. So basically that post-click experience is what becomes very, very important. So we like to do this through landing pages. One of the cardinal sins that you'll see in the legal space or anywhere else is people who are paying, like I said, $5, $10, $50 a click sometimes for clicks that go straight to a homepage. And the thing is that the landing pages, there's kind of two elements to that. One is we want to make sure that everything is geared towards where the person is at the journey. So if you consider the mental process that somebody's going through, I'll just use, a personal injury lawyer because it's a popular example. So you're walking down the street or you're driving your car, you get rear-ended, you're in an accident. What you're going to do at that point, for a lot of people, it's sort of, you'd wait to go home and do the yellow pages if we were talking about this 30 years ago. But, a lot of times, okay, you're sitting there, your bumper's all messed up, you got smoke coming out of your grill. You're pulling out your iPhone and searching car accident.
Smoke coming out of your ears too.
Yeah,
I can't believe this happened to me.
Yeah. So, so you pull out your phone, you search car accident attorney, Minneapolis, right? So at that point, you've already made the decision to hire an attorney. Now, a lot of the times when you're directing stuff to a homepage, it's basically, it's completely different messaging. And I would say that it's not that people have bad homepage. There's no good home pages and there's no bad pages. It's just what's appropriate for the communication. So for the person that's in that space, they've already decided. You don't have to tell them that, hey, look, if you've been injured in an accident, you might be entitled to compensation. They wouldn't be searching that if they didn't know that. So we don't have to educate the prospect on what it is to do. What we do need to educate them on is this is why you should choose us over the 4 people that you could easily click back in the top listings of Google and go to their site as well. So, a lot of the times, we're just using the example of an attorney, but, this is for anyone who's got a mature market that they're working in. The most important thing is differentiating. And this could be on things that you guys do or things that other people aren't coming to attention. So, this is, in the personal injury space, for example, the free consultation is usually a model, but there's a lot of people that actually don't know that. So if you're the ad that's saying free consultation and on the ad and the homepage, the other people aren't it, if somebody doesn't know any better about that process, they might say like, okay, should I call these guys that I don't really know this is going to cost? Attorneys are scary. Most of the times this is perceived as an expensive thing. Or do I call the guy who says free consultation? I'm going to click on this one. When you get to that page, if you guys have been in the business for 30 years, if you've settled 5,000 car accident cases, if you have a $27 million settlement and blah, 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 these are the kind of things that you want to put to attention on the homepage. So it's kind of that differentiation. And the thing is that if you were putting these things on a general information page about your homepage, it would be kind of out of place. It's like, it's a little bit aggressive, but like, this is kind of, I like to kind of make this analogy of sort of, it's like a football drive, right? You're going to have a different play for the punt return than you're going to have for, when you're third and inches and, it's you're right from the top. You're not going to do a full back dive, but that's more or less what you have to do when you're looking for the pay-per-click thing. So it's got to be aggressive and, it might feel weird, but at the end of the day, we have the ability to look at the numbers and it's not out of place if you're coming to them where they're at, which is in the need of a service. So that's kind of the first thing. You have to make sure that the landing page is optimized. And, another really important thing when we're talking about getting people to actually call you, this is going to sound really, really stupid, but you got to give them your phone number. You got to give them their phone number front and center. You got to have your email thing right at the top. You see way too many people who are hiding this away, but like, look, this is what they need. You're not being brash if you're doing this. You're providing something for a person that's in need.
Yeah, and let me reiterate that point, because it blows me away, Jan, how many times you come to a website and you can't find the phone number or you can't find an email address. The contact us stuff is buried. So you're totally on the mark with this. Hey, put your stuff out there front and center. Make it easy for someone to reach you.
Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of, maybe this is just a little bit of some shyness that's kind of leaving your culture. Because, sometimes people don't want to be salesy and they kind of feel like, hey, look, if I'm asking for the business sort of when it comes to putting my contact information out there, maybe I'm being pushy. But the thing is that, what you're doing is making things easier for people. And, you got into business to help people. And if you're making it easier for them, you're just facilitating that. The only reason you shouldn't want to do that is if you're not confident in your service, in which case you should probably shut down business right now.
Yeah. This whole marketing thing is about building a relationship. And the first place to start is make it easy for someone to reach you.
Yeah, no, it's totally facilitating that. And then another thing that's really important, and this is kind of, maybe something to loop back into, but, when you have something front and center, we also want to make sure that there's a way to track things. And, there's kind of different levels to this. So I used to, this is a story that I talk about a little bit in the book, but basically back in the day when people used to take out a billboard ad or, yellow pages, you would get a second telephone line. And they use a lot of times people just you have your black phone. That's the regular number. You get the red phone. So when the red phone rings, secretary makes a tick. And we know, okay, cool. We got, 15 calls from every other kind of marketing we're doing, business cards, friends of friends, et cetera. And then, this billboard ad got 20 calls. And, these 15 calls, we got blah, blah, blah cases in this one. So it's, that's kind of the like level, level one of getting your analytics at the very least. And I'm constantly shocked when we're looking at, prospect accounts and stuff like that to find people that don't have tracking. And, this is the thing, like when you're spending money on this stuff, you absolutely have to know where it's coming back from. If it's a win or loss or push, it's like, and the thing is that, when we're speaking to the people who are doing really well, when you ask the questions about the numbers, they almost have them like down pat, like really like that. Those are the most successful people have those things down. So, you kind of wonder about the chicken and the egg here, but it's definitely super important to know that. Using a little, like there's some tools that we use at the agency that anyone can use. One of the ones that we really, really like for call tracking, which like I said, is super important for AdWords is a service called CallRail. And the way that this works is basically, they have a pool of numbers that will rotate. There's a lot of technical hocus pocus that allows this to integrate back in your analytics, but you can know not only did this come from AdWords versus our other stuff, but did this come from this keyword or this ad copy or this campaign or this landing page. And that becomes more interesting because, at the end of the day, like almost any kind of advertising, it's about split testing. You want to pick your winners, have a grounds to determine which is the winner, and then, go in the direction where the results are coming for you.
Right. So let's do this. I know so many people say, you know what, I can't afford an agency. I'm going to do it myself. A lot of people, right? I mean, a lot of people start out that way. So what do you think someone who's a DIY do-it-yourselfer, what's the thing they absolutely have to do, and what are the things that they absolutely should avoid doing?
Okay. In terms of the DIYer, so I'm going to take the scope out a little bit on this because there's actually just this is a big initiative that's going on in Google right now, is to kind of turn things towards a self-service platform. So, you kind of think about, the big picture for Google is like, you've got this giant pyramid of businesses in the United States. You got, Goldman Sachs at the top, and you got, Joe's Taco Shack at the bottom. But like, you go all the way down, there's more businesses at the bottom that are smaller than at the top. So basically, they've been kind of moving in a direction of making these things more self-service. And the thing is, we've, like I said, we audit accounts all the time. We work with a lot of different, people that have been doing a DIY. And the thing is that a lot of the simplification that these platforms are making for people is actually, kind of hiding some options that might not be super good for them.
Right.
This is the thing, we're a Google partner. I don't like to speak ill of Google, but like, a lot of the times it's very tough to get these things going. There's a couple of settings in particular that I think people don't want to that's like, I kind of find it hard that it's just a default, because it's almost impossible to make money, even if you know exactly what you're doing. So the first thing, and we kind of went over this on the other thing, is that, basically, if you're driving traffic to a page that's not going to convert, it almost doesn't matter how good your ads are. You got to think of the page that somebody's going to click to. That's go back to the football analogy. That's the wide receiver. If the guy has stumps for hands, it doesn't matter if you have Tom Brady throwing the football. It's never going to get caught, and it doesn't matter how much money you're going to throw into that thing, nothing's going to come out.
Right.
Once, assuming that you have something serviceable set up for that, the most important thing as far as settings that people are going to get into is that, this is kind of crazy, but these are the defaults. The default setting for location on Google AdWords is United States. So the default amount of hours of operation for Google AdWords is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So at the very least, and especially when we're talking about local service businesses, you need to make sure that these ads are showing at a time where you can pick up the phone, because, it doesn't matter if you're getting a cheaper cost per click. If it's coming at 4 a.m., it doesn't matter. They're calling someone else in the morning. So make sure that these things are running at a time where you can respond to them in a timely fashion. The second thing is, this is pretty obvious, but, run these in a geography that you guys can maintain.
Yeah.
And this is a question that I ask everyone whenever we're talking about somebody who's considering hiring us. Or the thing is, how far, and this is what I ask, is how far do people come to go to your office? Now, I'm in New York City. I probably wouldn't cross a river. I wouldn't take 40 minutes to talk to somebody. But, I spoke to a firm in Wyoming. He said, when we're talking about distance, it's not in miles, it's an hour's drive.
Yeah.
So, if you know that no one knows your business better than you. If people are going to drive, if you're super rural, let's say it's 3 hours, if you're in a dense urban area, maybe it's going to be 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe it's a 5 or 10 mile radius around your office, but make sure that it's realistic. And then, okay, so basically we've got, so we're not going to be getting clicks from Alaska, and we're not going to be getting clicks in the middle of the night. That's a good starter. The next thing that you need to watch out for is a setting that is incredibly insidious. I see this all the time. It's a default setting. It's called Search Network with Display Select. So basically, Google has a number of different, channels within the, formerly Google AdWords actually been, I got to smack myself on the wrist for not using that term, but it's actually been called Google Ads since a rebrand a month or two ago. But under the Google Ads platform, and maybe, I'm not going to get into the theories and why they did this, but, we have the major platforms we have are search. That is, you type in personal injury lawyer, you see personal injury lawyer at the top. You have display. This is a totally different topic of conversation, but essentially it's banner ads. Something like 80% of the remnant inventory, that's stuff that, the New York Times sales team can't fill a slot, that goes on Google Ads. And then the third major one is going to be YouTube. So the thing is, this isn't made extremely apparent to the person, especially if they're using the starter Google thing. So the default setting is what's called search network with display select. And basically, search network, when we're talking about that, that third and goal, ready to make a decision, they already know what they want. You just have to show them that it's you. That only applies to search network. Display is a completely different platform in terms of how things perform. Essentially, as opposed to, you could consider search somewhat of an inbound channel because they're expressing their intent. Whereas display is push advertising. You're saying, hey, okay, if somebody sees this banner, it's, this actually is, it's kind of similar to, how Facebook traffic would work in some ways, in the sense that you have a demographic, what these people might be into. This isn't something they're actively looking for. This is something that they might consider if they see something that catches their attention. But, not to say it's a bad channel, works really well for some people. But, to combine the two is absolutely ridiculous. It's like, taping a hammer to a screwdriver. It's not going to be good for anyone. So basically, this is the default thing, though. And what actually makes this really bad is that, it kind of it's allocating the budget with this just completely according to Google's terms. So generally speaking, the search network traffic is going to be, an order of magnitude more expensive than the display traffic. Regardless of, if you're ever talking personal injury, you're not going to see clicks for more than $2.50 in the display network. So if somebody goes in saying, okay, cool, we're going to start these ads, I don't want to pay $20 for a click. I want to pay $3 for a click. All of a sudden they're getting nothing but display clicks. They have no idea why anything's not converting. And it's not even totally apparent to, unless you know how to look in the interface, slice and dice this stuff, it's very hard to even know this is going on. So, this is the thing, like, personally, as an advertiser, if we want to do search and display, we'll have one campaign that's search, we'll have one campaign that's display. It's an unholy Frankenstein monster, which should not exist. But yeah, look, if you can get the basics of a landing page, get the showing to the right people in the right area, once you have that, you should at least have a fighting chance of getting this stuff to work. And if not, you'll have the data to know which direction to go into.
Excellent advice. So for you DIYers out there, pay attention to those default settings, display versus search, or display and search. Location, make sure that you set your location properly, and your hours of operation. Those are some 3 great tips that Yann has provided to us. And hey, bottom line is, if you need help, if you really, really want to understand how to do this AdWords thing correctly, you really need to reach out to someone like Yann, who has a book out, The Legal Marketing Fastlane, and he's got a great podcast and, of course, his website. Yann, thanks so much for joining me on the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. And here's the time for your shameless plug. How else do people get a chance to reach out to you?
All right, awesome. So, I would recommend, if anyone wants to take a look, if you happen to be an attorney, we have a fabulous podcast. If you want to search CaseFuel on iTunes, casefuel.com is a site for anyone who else might have those needs. But yeah, if you guys want to take a look, the book was written for attorneys, but we actually go through the exact systems that we use internally to set up these accounts. If you've got a business that's a local service business, or kind of fits in that category of similar to attorney in the sense that it's something that's defined and people need quickly, obviously, ignore everything that's talking about the law, but that's really the process that we use. So I'd also recommend checking out the book. I think it's like $5 on Kindle or something like that, so it's not that crazy. But yeah, that's probably the best place to find me.
Excellent. Yann, thanks so much for joining me today on the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. I look forward to the next time we chat. That's it for this week's episode. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode and you're a regular listener, even if you're not a regular listener, go ahead and visit us on our Podbean website. That is where we store all of these podcasts. It's marketyourbusiness.podbean, that's podbean.com. And follow us there. Let us know that you really enjoy the podcast by following us. And this way you'll get alerted every time there's a new episode. Thanks for being a listener. We really do appreciate it. And don't forget to tell your friends, too, about the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. You can find it everywhere. Check out all of our episodes of the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast. It's on our website, marketyourbusiness.co. Look for the podcast tab, and there you'll find all previous episodes. And while you're on our website, don't forget to check out all the other resources and sign up for our weekly newsletter, too.
Thanks for listening to the Market Your Business Like a Pro podcast with Ken Countess. Be sure to visit marketyourbusiness.co to access show notes, discover our fantastic content, and sign up for our mailing list. Have questions? Send Ken an email, ken@thecountessgroup.com, or Twitter @CountessGroup. See you next time.
If you need help with this or anything else related to marketing your business, reach out to us.